New at 4 in today's Community Focus, from bankruptcy hearings in Texas over 2 Rhode Island hospitals to numerous lawsuits against the Trump administration. Attorney General Peter Neronha is here to talk about it all. Thanks so much for being here.
Sure, Kim.
So I want to start with the status of Roger Williams Hospital and Fatima, because even if Rhode Islanders don't go to those hospitals personally, we know there could be statewide ripple effects if either of them were to close. And just last week, a judge approved a temporary funding plan to keep those hospitals open, with rumblings of a new buyer, Prime, have come into play, created some arguments and debate. What should we expect to hear at the next court hearing, which I believe is next week? Yeah,
so just to make it simple and to address some concerns that Rhode Islanders may have, those hospitals are important. So here's what we managed to achieve last week in Dallas. Number one, the hospitals are going to stay open at least through the end of the year. They'll stay open beyond that, I'm confident of it, but we have funding in place to keep them open. Prospect wanted to close them or turn them over to the state. The state's in no position mechanically to take them over, at least at the moment. So we've secured that funding from monies that my office, recovered from Leonard Green, a former owner. So we're all set there. The question now is, can Centurion close their approved deal, approved by us and approved by the Department of Health? They're past the deadline that we gave them to do that of October 31st, but they're still in first position, if you will. If they can't close it, and while we're figuring out whether they can and will, the judge has really been pushing for an alternative buyer. That could be anybody. We've heard about Prime. It's been reported in the news. There could be others. The bottom line for Rhode Islanders, what they should know is that if it's not Centurion, which has an approved deal, anybody else has to go through the approval process, and we're going to be tough on them.
Okay, so we will stay tuned on all of that. And again, that next hearing is next week. The U.S. Supreme Court, as we know, has extended the pause of SNAP benefits being dispersed even after Rhode Island's U.S. District Court Judge Jack McConnell said they needed to be paid. We know this may all be moot in a couple of hours with a vote to reopen the government coming up tonight. But what's your reaction to this back and forth over SNAP funding?
It's really crazy. And you know, my team did a timeline for me because I really wanted to be able to speak to you about it, Kim. If I give you that timeline, we wouldn't have enough time to go through it. The bottom line is, this is all chaos, in my view, caused by the Trump administration trying to leverage food for hungry people to try to force Democrats in the Congress to I'm not even going to say come to the table, surrender and allow the government to reopen to the extent they caused the shutdown in the first place. Should never have happened this way. The legal proceedings have just caused great uncertainty, not only for the most important people who need the food, but also for states as they try to figure out how to get the benefits out. My hope is that the shutdown will undo all of this chaos and get food to where it's really needed, necessary.
And as our Sophia Szabo mentioned earlier, it's sort of a moot point because Rhode Island and Massachusetts have already dispersed those funds, but we will see.
And the Trump administration is trying to claw them back. So, you know, in our case up in Massachusetts, one of the things that we've done as attorneys general is to prevent the Trump administration from doing that. So that's really critical, obviously, right? If the Trump administration tries to take back the money, the full benefits that they don't want to pay, that could put the state on the hook. We're trying to avoid that.
Of course. The Washington Bridge oversight hearing is tomorrow at the State House. Lawmakers are expected to put Rhode Island DOT Director Peter Alviti under oath for the first time. You've said before you don't think this is going to impede the ongoing lawsuit over the bridge. What are you going to be watching for at this hearing tomorrow? Well,
the governor just sent me a letter not long ago asking me to have a member of my team sit with Mr. Alviti at council table, Director Alviti. And I agreed to do that, and the instructions to our attorney are to let Director Alviti answer the questions. In other words, there's not going to be a lot of interference by our lawyer with the process. We want Director Alviti to answer the questions. We're not going to get in the way of those questions, and hopefully Rhode Islanders will get answers tomorrow.
Okay, we will certainly be watching that very closely, and my colleague Alexandra Leslie will have a preview about that coming up. You sent out a warning about so-called junk healthcare plans. Basically, they sort of look legitimate, but they don't provide the same coverage as regulated health insurance plans. What should people at home be doing to protect themselves?
Yeah, if you are thinking about signing up for something that's different from what you already have, think Blue Cross or United or Neighborhood. If you're thinking about a plan that you've heard advertised in Rhode Island, these ads are running on WPRI, for example, from a company called First Health that we've opened an investigation about. Not saying yet that they've done anything wrong, but we're investigating them because what we're worried about is them confusing or potentially misleading Rhode Islanders into signing up for what they think is health insurance, but isn't, and being left with really, really large bills. So if you're thinking about making a change as prices go up, and I understand why Rhode Islanders are worried about that, particularly with the healthcare subsidies going away apparently from Congress, and our own health insurance commissioner raising rates on Rhode Islanders, they got to be really careful when they change. And if they're thinking about it, read the fine print and reach out to my office for guidance.
All right, some important advice. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Kim, for having me.